let us move to where I think you could be a homer and be intellectual and rank them this time. So let's go to the running backs in the NFC West and where you think these will line up.
Yeah. So, I mean, first, I'm glad. I thought I was going to be the homer on this show. And so far, it hasn't worked out that way. And so I'm thrilled about that because I hope you're right about these ones and I'm wrong. But this one, yeah, it's hard. It's hard not to get away from the homer in me. So I was a little surprised at first when I looked up the rushing yardage because of Arizona jumping off the page with 2,200 yards above LA with 2,000, Seattle with almost 2,000, and us just below 1,900. So again, stacked pretty tightly together, all successful rushing attacks. And then, it occurred to me, well, obviously it's
Kyler Murray.
Yeah, Kyler Murray's rushes in there. So clearly that's what jumps them up. The key additions, I again thought that. Oh shit! I didn't update that. My bad. On the key additions, Seattle, losing Carlos Hyde, does that really change anything for them? I'm not so sure. Arizona, obviously swapping out. Who did they have last year?
Kendrick Drake, and they brought in James Conner.
Right. James Conner, I think, is a solid addition, but what he showed last year was sort of a fraction of himself. And I'll be interested to see if he regains form because early in his career, it sure looked like he was headed on a very positive trajectory. And then last year fell pretty flat with the Steelers. Could be a better fit in Arizona with this scheme. We shall see. LA losing Cam Akers, that's tough. I mean,
Really tough.
I would have put them a lot higher on this list if it weren't for that fact. But that's a devastating injury. That was going to be a bell cow. That was going to be a high draft pick in fantasy drafts, right? That was going to be a guy that gets a lot of carries and puts up solid numbers week in, week out. And then there's the 49ers, which is clearly hard to pick one back that's going to crush it. But when you look at the room as a whole, gaining Trey Sermon, Wayne Gallman, I think, is a very sneaky addition. I think that is a low-key bell cow pickup. Gaining 4.6 yards average last year behind the Giants front when lots of teams were stacking the line to stop the run was no small feat. I think that he is a capable Tevin Coleman type back. And then Elijah Mitchell with that breakaway speed, really pretty spectacular. And you have to figure in Trey Lance, whether he's starting or not, he's going to be in for some packages and
Right.
he's going to put up somewhere in the neighborhood of 600, 800 yards. I mean, he is going to be a terror for defenses to try and stop with that speed and that size. It's just going to be ridiculous. So for me, in the rankings, LA dropped, and I got to put them at number 4. And that's all of because of the loss of Akers. It's, you added Stafford, and so teams are going to be trying to defend the pass significantly. Maybe that opens up lanes for the running game. And Darrell Henderson is no joke, but I thought Cam Akers really was going to be the bell cow, and he was going to be the guy that made this go. And now I wonder at the depth beyond Darrell Henderson and how that's going to play out.
Right.
And then third, I think that they've been fairly consistent, and if they shift back to more of the run, they could climb in this list. But I've got Seattle in there with the caveat that all 3 of the second, third, and fourth place teams I have real close together in this. So again, back to the backfield in Seattle. Losing Hyde really didn't matter for them. They've got a healthy Chris Carson, hopefully a healthy Rashad Penny, and then Russell Wilson will always add some yardage in there as well. But I do think that it's fair to have some health concerns for Carson and Penny, who seem to get dinged up on a pretty regular basis. And part of that could be from a porous offensive line in Seattle, and part of that could be from a physical running style, which, as we know with our backs, just leads to injury. That just is the NFL. And then second to me is Arizona. And they get the edge here over Seattle only because of the yards that Murray's going to run. I think that you look at Wilson and Murray, and there's an additional 200, 300, 400 yards that Murray's going to scramble for over Wilson, because I think that in what I've seen to this point, Murray still is fairly quick to decide to run, whereas Wilson has clearly evolved into one of the best pocket passers in the league. And so that's a true dual threat where it's pass first and then escape out the back and torture us like he always fucking does. So that to me is the difference in Seattle and Arizona, edging out Arizona because Murray's going to put up more yards. And that leaves a clear winner here for me, and that's the San Francisco 49ers. I think this shit is just going to be off the chain. I mean, I think that this is going to be not just the number one rushing attack in the division with the addition of both Treys, the workhorse potential in Gallman, and the exciting rookie in Elijah Mitchell. I think this has the potential to be the best rushing attack in the league, up there with Baltimore, up there with Cleveland. I think that this is going to be scary.
Yeah, and you didn't even bring up Mostert, who's still there. And,
yes. By the way, I have apologies to Mostert if he's watching this. I have a signed picture of him up in my man cave. I am a big Mostert fan, no doubt about that. And I think to me the key there is usage on him. To me, you gotta have the other bell cows so that you keep Mostert in that 10 to 15 carry range, averaging something like 12 carries a game.
Yeah, and I mean, you go back to when the 49ers under Kyle Shanahan were most elite in the running game, and that was back to 2019, right? And they had the three-headed monster, Tevin Coleman, who pretty much started and took a bulk of the bruiser type hits. Yeah. And then you came in with the Breida and the Mostert change of pace that would just seem like every time they touched the ball, they were running for like 10, 15 yards down, down the throat of the defenses. And last year, Tevin Coleman wasn't the same Tevin Coleman. He finally looked like long in the tooth Tevin Coleman. McKinnon finally got to play and was pretty much healthy for the whole season, but his speed and burst was just gone. Yeah. Wilson Jr. obviously played really well, but couldn't stay healthy. So I think all of the I think Kyle Shanahan saw that and was like, look, our rushing game went from ranked top 3 to be 15th. Now we need to just get as many offensive linemen and as many running backs as possible. 50% of their draft was geared directly to the running game, right? They picked up 2 offensive linemen, 2 running backs, and it seems like the 2 running backs that they got are going to be the starters, right? Even though you stated Wayne Gallman, who I believe is a great pickup, I think it's going to be hard for him to make the starting rotation, because I think Trey Sermon is going to be the Tevin Coleman role. Mostert obviously is going to be Mostert, and I think Mitchell's going to come in and be able to do that Breida type role. And then Wayne Gallman will get some probably come in if any of those guys got injured type of situation. But I agree with you. I think that the Niners run away with this in the NFC West. I think Arizona's running game is going to be good. I think Chase Edmonds is kind of like addition by subtraction. Now that Drake isn't there, he's going to get more of the ball, and he was gashing defenses last year. So I think he's going to be their running back 1 with James Conner coming in, and being more of that power back for them. So I agree with you. I think it's going to be 1 49ers, 2 Arizona, 3 Seattle, and then, the Rams are going to be 4 because they're going to have the least mobile quarterback, right? For once, because if we're expecting Trey to start, all of a sudden, the Rams are the only one with the quarterback that can't run. So, yeah, that's pretty exciting. A bunch of people jumped into the chat. Just wanted to say, hey, my dude Brandon, thank you for jumping in. He's not a 49er fan, though. He's a Raiders fan. So,
hey,
obviously,
at least it's in the Bay.
Right.
Not really, but kind of.
We had Kid Low. I am not sponsored by Ralph Lauren, but I feel like if I wear enough, maybe they'll come holler at me if the channel gets big enough. So that's great. Pinor, I do have a pink polo. I've worn it before, and definitely on that Kanye drip. Let's see.